Hit him. There we go. Oh god, look at that thing. He's like scared. Looks scared. Pokemon Legends Arceus was something I thought was going to be a complete disaster. The marketing campaign included trailers with the game rather in a rough state early on, especially with the fidelity and performance. Of course, with time given, the game looked noticeably better to some degree, at least. Thankfully, the game did get a later launch date of January 28th of 2022 instead of the expected November launch. That one went to pretty much Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl to take that spot back in 2021. But still, in the back of my mind, I still have this thought that it would be a crappy game and a massive disappointment for a lot of people. I, for one, was sort of bracing for Impact to be that kind of game. But at last, once it got into my hands, my expectations were pretty much shot out of the water. I very much enjoyed the majority of the experience that Pokemon Legends had to offer. I can also say that this is by far the best Pokemon game out there right now on the Switch. It's such a fresh take on Pokemon games, more ways than one. However, with that said, after letting that honeymoon high kind of take its course and I was able to sit down and let it really sink in, I've come to realize that while the game was a bunch of good ideas sort of bundled into this game, for Pokemon at least, there's a bunch of issues, especially when it comes to execution. Now it's time to break open this review, but before I do that, I really appreciate if you guys can comment, like, subscribe, because it really helps out and I do really appreciate it. Now let's start with the graphics. Pretty much the big elephant in this room here. While I do really love the art theme and direction of the whole feudal Japan aesthetic, it had a lot of rough edges. Jaggies up the wazoo, rendering Pokemon from far away. Environments could have looked a little more lush as they were all sort of starting to look the same here. And there were some bugs and glitches, funny ones for the most part, that can be overlooked and move on. But when it comes to actual frame rate issues, not so much. I have actually had very brief moments of frame drops even during the big action on screen. While yes, corners were cut, these corners were very much calculated in the right places in order for the game to perform consistently throughout the playthrough. I, for one, would rather have a game that's decent looking with consistent frame rates versus a beautiful game that drops frames a lot of times. Kind of like Pokemon Legends versus Breath of the Wild, which is a common and natural comparison. Now, putting that aside, the character designs were really fun and fantastic looking. Characters like Kamado, Arezu, the MCs, the Diamond and Pearl clans, and so on. But of course, the Pokemon. There were plenty of cool ideas and designs realized in this game. I really liked how Zora and Zoroark came out, Bravery, and even the starters had some wacky but interesting designs, as well as the legendaries, which I'll leave those out for you guys to see. Now I was hoping for different starter designs all the way instead of just the final forms. When it comes to the environment themselves, it's very hit or miss. Now at least with your home base, Jubilife Village, looking very charming and filled with NPCs with a decent variety of looks. Let me also add that some of the coolness does come from the animations. They're actually really cool this time around, especially with the evolutions and even the trading. That's really cool. Whoa! Holy shit! Wow, that was cool. What the fuck? And I used the heavy ball for it. Oh, that's a cool man, these animations are so cool. Oh my god. What is this? What the fuck? This is sick. What the hell? Either way,
In the end, there was a lot of visual ambition that made it through, but at the sacrifice of certain elements because of the Nintendo Switch, it really seems like. Now, even with that, I think the game still looked decent, to say the least. The style and art direction really helped with that. Now, especially once you let the art impressions set aside, the gameplay really does shine here and carries much of the game. The game felt so dynamic in comparison to your traditional Pokemon game. There were moments where I was bobbing and weaving against the Pokemon while I was trying to catch them, which is something I really wanted to do, and this is pretty much sort of a reality here. It's a start. Of course, with these open world games, when done right of course, are so addicting. I've had times where I was up till 7 in the morning, much like Breath of the Wild and so on. Although for a game like this, it had some landmarks, but you kinda wish for more, especially with Sinnoh being so popular in Pokemon lore and with the fan base as well. But it was still fun wandering around, distracting yourself from the main story to catch a bunch of Pokemon along the way, especially the alpha Pokemon. Early on, they will fuck you up, but you'll reach to the point of being able to catch or battle these with confidence. But even still, they'll still fuck you up. But it feels good nonetheless. As you play the game further, you'll get more ride Pokemon and more ways to access the areas that only add to that addiction of just wanting to check out new areas. They did a good job here, making each of these Pokemon useful in their own right. Once you get Hisuian Bravery, you're not completely relying on that Pokemon alone, as it actually slowly descends right after you take flight. Or should I say, falling with style.
Pokemon Legends does a lot of cool things, including the gameplay features. I really do like being able to change your nicknames for your Pokemon on the fly. And of course, more importantly, the moves. A very welcoming feature, being able to swap out Hypnosis, for example, with any attack move without losing moves completely, completely forgotten. You know that feature, right? That's just so awesome. You can basically make your Pokemon from a support type of sorts to a DPS and vice versa, go back and forth with it if you really want to without any worry. I really do wish this carries over to the main Pokemon games here on out, if they ever go back to the traditional, sort of Pokemon game. It's worth mentioning also that there is a nice assortment of outfits and clothing items to customize your trainer. So there are, more ways than one to kind of go with different looks throughout your playthrough. On the topic of moves, let's talk about the combat here. I think this is where it starts to feel kinda going back to the mundane Pokemon game because it's still, turn-based through and through. Not a bad thing, not a bad complaint or anything like that, but with all what Legends had to offer so far, having it real-time combat could have really made things, different. Really makes it stand out from the rest of the bunch, and really complementing the dynamic feel that I got from the game all the better. Perhaps something like a good middle ground will be great, like how 7 remakes from Final Fantasy, how they did it with their combat system, making it both turn-based kinda, but also real-time at the same time.
The biggest feature for the combat is the strong and agile styles. It does shake things up quite a bit. With this, watching your action list is very important in this game. It's a very prominent tool in your kit, because that's when you'll know when it's the right time to use either style of the moves. Strong moves are naturally stronger and meant to KO the opponent in one hit, at the cost of extra turns, while the agile style is all about gathering more turns for yourself. Even some moves are changed and balanced around this system. There are moves where they can gather more turns for you naturally. Your opponent really knows how to exploit these and can make the game frustrating at times. Your Pokemon are going to faint more often because of this system. You think you have the turn at times, but your opponent just robs you out of nowhere. You have to be really over leveled if you want to sweep these Pokemon as you would in other Pokemon games. If you want a more challenging Pokemon game, this could potentially be the one to really quench that thirst. Throughout most of the game, my battles were pretty smooth with some feints here and there, but during the post game, my god, you definitely have to check it out for yourselves because it's a banger. I had to essentially bust out some pseudo MMM knowledge in order to fight and beat a certain boss battle. Speaking of boss battles, this game also features a different kind of boss battle where your trainer directly interacts with frenzied Pokemon. You're essentially tossing objects at that Pokemon when you weaken them. You can do more damage with your Pokemon and then repeat the process. Each of these bosses have their own pattern of sorts and makes it feel like an entry-level Dark Souls or Mega Man game, having to learn their patterns and dodging along the way. Overall, for the gameplay, it really carries the game. It makes you mostly forget the jank around you that you experience in Legends, and it's just addicting fun at the end of things. You'll have a fun time trying to collect all the Pokemon offered in this game, which is nicely selected from each generation, so there's a handful for each that people will like. Now, when it comes to the story and premise, it was really fascinating of how things played out in the history of Sinnoh in concept. It was also funny to find all the ancestors of existing characters in the Pokemon universe, including Cyrus, Mars, Cynthia, and even Gardenia. It's a nice addition to the game of sorts, and it serves as an afterthought by the end of it, for some people at least, since the gameplay again is really good. While the big moments were entertaining in this story, the twists present were pretty predictable for me. One could definitely say it's a pretty basic story at best. Now, with that said, it was a nice change of pace that you're not necessarily going to do gyms for battling and earning badges as usual in older Pokemon games. You're essentially progressing through the game by catching Pokemon and exploring new areas, which is part of the new research system.
The pacing for the most part is a non-issue other than the tutorial phase, but I guess it could be necessary since the controls are kind of different. It actually is reminiscent of Monster Hunter, having the shoulder buttons and triggers do quite a bit of work for a lot of your actions. So again, the story is kind of like the cherry on top of the sundae, I guess, but it's not, while the sweetest and tastiest of cherries, it's kind of still there. You can eat it, you know, it's kind of an option. Oh, right, the side quests though. There are plenty of these to do, and yes, they will further distract you from beating the main story, adding to your gaming hours. I wish these would offer more enticing rewards. Some do, but I feel like none of them, or not enough of them, did so. That's what I kind of gathered here anyway. Now, obviously, the game does have its imperfections that I should address. Not only there was jank in this game from the graphics and visuals and such, but the game itself could have used some old-fashioned tuning. One fix that comes to mind is the menu, specifically the organizing of your items in your satchel. I wish there was like tabs to help separate the Pokeballs and other throwable items and such and such, blah blah blah. It just makes things easier. If it's present in the item box, and when you're crafting, why not have it in your satchel? I'm not sure why that wasn't there. I also wish for similar features in the Pokemon Pasture, which is basically your PC storage for your Pokemon. Basically, having to hit a button to automatically sort each of the boxes you have by species would have been really nice, kind of like what you can do with your satchel, sort of. You're gonna be catching a lot of the same Pokemon for stats, personal goals, and the side quests, and so on and so forth. Especially with the Weasel side quest. Oh god.
There's also no easy way to travel each area of Hisui. If you want to jump to another area, you have to go back to the field camp, exit back to Jubilife Village, then head out and pick your desired area. Literally, I had an incident where I had to go to the secret location. The story quest prompted me to collect 3 pieces of wood. I had to jump back to the village, then to one of the areas to collect wood. There are also issues with catching Pokemon at some times. There are certain ranges where the ball just stops working after being thrown, meaning that even if you actually hit the Pokemon with that Pokeball If it's too far away, it'll just bounce off, which was originally why I thought you can only catch alpha Pokemon through battles, but you can also catch them just like any other Pokemon if you're close enough. But there's no clear indication of sorts that it's out of range.
Oh, you have that? What? Oh, I don't get it. I hit it. What the? Oh my, that is malarkey right there, man. There was also a severe lack of co-op features like online battles and co-op exploration. Maybe those will come in a later update or something like that. I'm not too sure, so don't quote me on that one. Now when it comes to the music, I kind of wish there was a consistency with the genre or vibe or whatever. I thought I was going for like a more somber sort of mood, but there were just tracks that were kind of like just odd or just kind of stuck out like a sore thumb in a really weird way. If you want to be more lighthearted and cheery, then I want to hear more of that. But there's just like a lot of weird mixing between the two. Also, when the game is trying a lot of new things for the franchise, you kind of just wish there was voice acting for this one, for these cutscenes. They're somehow a little more engaging this time around. You kind of want to, stick it to the story a little more than the other ones in older Pokemon games. But this game wasn't the one to break the mold, unfortunately, so no voices here still. Overall, Game Freak does deserve some credit for finally doing something different with the main Pokemon series this time around, and it does have a really good base to go off of for what's to come. While the ideas and concepts were ambitious, the overall execution could have been better. The story was super basic, the world was just pretty flat overall, rough on the edges, and the other jank that comes with that does hold it back from being that really potentially good game. Perhaps more time was needed in the oven, but this ain't like Cyberpunk levels of being undercooked. Now, the gameplay side of things and the cool bits that came along with that one made me enjoy the experience and carry me through much of the game, including the post-game content. Being able to catch Pokemon in real time really made things just pure fun, and it makes sense to see it go this way as a means of the franchise, well, evolving. Although the game did feel kind of short at like 50 hours-ish with the grinding and the distractions even thrown in there. So with that, like if you kind of like think about it, this might be just like a 30-hour main game kind of thing. But putting that aside, putting all those things aside, I think Pokemon Legends Arceus here this time around deserves a 7 out of 10. I thought about it, I thought about giving it even a 6 or like an 8, but I think it's fair to give it a 7 in my opinion, or at least from my perspective anyway. I think it deserves a 7. I mean, there are a lot of good ideas that were presented to the table, right, for Pokemon. They were just things that were really enjoyable in comparison to Sword and Shield in a lot of areas. I do really like these ideas that were kind of like played around with. The game definitely though needs a lot of work being done. Once it's all refined though, I think this is going to be something the franchise can finally, dare I say it again, fully evolve. Yes, that's hopefully the case here. But either way, Pokemon Legends Arceus is a pretty good game overall. It's a 7 out of 10. So that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed my review on Pokemon Legends Arceus. Hope we can get some DLC and updates for the game. I want to see what they can do to really spice things up a bit here. At least one step at a time, I guess. I'm also very excited for what Pokemon games could become in the future now that this is out here. Not to mention, they're really doing away with a lot of things. I forgot to mention, there's no 2 versions, that sort of thing. They should just stick with one game. I think it's just, for the best, that sort of thing. But that's for us to see. Let's see what Game Freak will have for Pokemon next for us Pokemon fans. So again, I really appreciate if you guys can comment, subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the bell to notify all. Really helps out. I really do appreciate it. So, what do you guys think of Pokemon Legends Arceus? Again, leave those in the comment section below because I would love to read them. So this has been my review for Pokemon Legends Arceus. Again, I'm cautiously optimistic for the game to take this sort of direction and really flesh it out. And they have the ingredients, they have the base, they have everything. So you just gotta put a lot of thought and time into it, and we all have something super delicious potentially and hopefully. So again, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Sean out.